developmental tasks that newborns complete include the development of sensory, perceptual, and motor function, sensory motor intelligence, communication, attachment, and emotional development. In the first few years of life, the brain experiences rapid development. The senses, vision, hearing, taste, and touch, develop relatively quickly, and the infant uses these senses to better understand its environment and build further development. Motor function starts off as reflexes and later evolves to voluntary movement after the muscles develop, motor coordination improves, and practice. The 4 information processing abilities that provide resources to support the development of sensory motor intelligence are attention, processing speed, memory, and representational abilities. Important developments in the sensory motor intelligence during this stage include a more complex sense of causal relationships, object permanence, and categories for objects. Language is an important development in the first 2 years of life and is closely tied with hearing. The infant forms an awareness of structure and rhythms of spoken language and develops an ability to recognize sounds in different combinations. They increase their understanding of language and eventually begin to use babbling and start to use words and phrases. The number of words and phrases that they can understand is a lot larger than the number they can actually speak. Attachments form between infants and caregivers with physical, social, and emotional characteristics. These attachments are important when it comes to the psychosocial crisis associated with this period. Sensory and motor experiences are integrated into the mental representations of the object of attachment. Emotions allow for intersubjectivity between the infant and the caregiver, eventually becoming differentiated and providing an establishment for later cognitive functioning and social competence. The psychosocial crisis is trust versus mistrust. The infant is supposed to develop a concept of its parents and caregivers as both separate and permanent. The infant has to trust that its needs will be met, and this trust that the infant puts in the caregiver allows the caregiver to become a source of security that allows for the infant to explore its environment safely. This trust also provides a framework for future close relationships and an orientation towards hopefulness. Without this, the infant becomes emotionally unattached.
The first case study in Chapter 5 is called A Close Look at a Mother-Infant Interaction. Infants gather information through their sensory and motor actions. They monitor the reactions of others and use that information to form clear, comprehensive, and complex ideas about themselves and others. This case talks about the interaction between a mother and her 6-month-old infant. These mother-to-infant interactions help to shape the infant's expectations of the world and how he or she is placed in it. So the case is the mother bends down to nuzzle her child with her own hair, and the infant grabs his mother's hair and pulls it pretty hard. So the mother reacts by yelling and vocalizing her pain, and she says, "Ow." And so she pulls back with an angry expression. The infant responds to the mother's quick, short reaction defensively by covering his face with both of his hands. And that basically he does that because he's responding to what he interprets as danger. The mother notices the infant's change in behavior and quickly alters her behavior by speaking and acting in a soothing, gentle manner. So after about 30 to 40 seconds of the mother's change in tone and action, the infant uncovers his face and begins to smile and make eye contact with the mother again. So that's basically a summary of case number 1. And here's a short video clip that's called the Still Face Experiment. And this video will demonstrate how the infant is impacted by the social and emotional interactions that he or she encounters.
In the still face experiment, what the mother did was she sits down and she's playing with her baby who's about a year of age.
I'm like a girl. Oh.
And she gives a greeting to the baby gives a greeting back to her.
Yeah.
This baby starts pointing at different places in the world, and the mother's trying to engage her and play with her. They're working to coordinate their emotions and their intentions, what they want to do in the world. And that's really what the baby is used to. And then we ask the mother to not respond to the baby. The baby very quickly picks up on this, and then she uses all of her abilities to try and get the mother back. She smiles at the mother. She points because she's used to the mother looking where she points. The baby puts both hands up in front of her and says, "What's happening here?" She makes that screechy sound at the mother. Like, come on, why aren't we doing this? Even in this 2 minutes, when they don't get the normal reaction, they react with negative emotions, they turn away, they feel the stress of it. They actually may lose control of their posture because of the stress that they're experiencing.
Okay.
Case 2 is about the Cotton family who had a child named Anna. Both parents were interviewed about the child's temperament, and both parents responded with nothing but good things to say, as Anna was very well-tempered, energetic, and liked to travel with the family. Temperament is how an individual reacts to an environment and how they express their feelings when they are uncomfortable with a situation. There are 9 types of temperament traits when children are growing: activity level, distractibility, intensity, regularity, sensory threshold, approach or withdrawal, adaptability, persistence, and mood. When children are growing up and going through their developmental tasks, parents must understand how their children will react to different situations. According to the case study, the parents of Anna reacted very well in adapting to the temperament that Anna had. Anna was very hyper and enjoyed traveling with the family. How a family reacts to the temperament of their child can shape how they react to different situations as they grow. Children have to adapt to behaviors differently depending on the family they come in. Some families have a stay-at-home parent which a child will become very attached to when they are taking care of them every day. However, if a child's parents work, they must become socially adaptive to different people taking care of them each day, whether it's a babysitter or daycare. Anna had to adapt to not only babysitters, but traveling with the father when he went to work and wherever else he went. She had to adapt and behave accordingly. Parents must understand a child's temperament so they can react in the correct way to different situations. The most challenging time for parents is figuring out how to react to the child's temperament and how they will respond with different parental consequences. The way they react to a child could lead to trust or mistrust depending on the way a parent handles a temper tantrum. It is proven in a study that moms spend more time with their children in the infancy state than fathers. Because of this, mothers have a better sense on how to react to a child's needs than a father. However, in the case of Anna, the father takes her everywhere, and which leads to a better relationship between the child and her father. Children have an important impact on different family members, whether it be straightening their life or realizing many things are less important than family. Anna's mother and grandmother feel that she is another miracle after the loss of Anna's mother. Many emotions can become part of a family, the way they react to the temperament of their child, and can affect the children's growth and their reaction to different situations and people.
We met with SSU student Mike to ask him a few questions about his 2-month-old son James. We discussed many developmental milestones that James has already reached and those that are yet to come.
So senses play a huge role in infants' first months of development. The book mentions it takes 4 months for visual acuity and facial recognition to develop to an adult level. How long did it take for James to recognize your face?
Face. He recognized you like right out of the womb.
Well, they recognized my voice.
Yeah, and your heartbeat.
Yeah.
But
That was pretty cool because even he couldn't really see anything. But
Yeah.
I started talking and he kind of turned around like, whoa, and you could see the recognition in his face.
Yeah.
Like, I know that voice.
it's when he was minutes old.
Yeah.
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 But I think 2 weeks maybe
Yeah.
for him to actually kind of lock in, and you could tell he was focusing.
Yeah. So babies aren't born with skilled motor development, and most early motor responses are reflexes. How have you seen James's motor development progress or change over time?
Yes. He started just recently to start grabbing for toys.
Okay.
And whereas before he would actually maybe accidentally swat the hanging toy of some sort, and then he started purposely grabbing for something, and then just the other day,
This one he figured out how to grab.
yeah, this one was all a
His
easy little
eye
ring, you
Or
know.
uncoordinated baby.
Right, so babbling is a form of communication for infants that reflect the sounds the infant consistently is hearing. And so have you noticed James babbling yet or mimicking any of the sounds you guys make?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it started with There's a lot of different vowel sounds, ahs and ohs. You're starting to get a few more like E and I sounds too. Occasional L's, like consonants, but really mostly no consonants. Yeah, it's mostly that. And it sounds like you said hi a few times. Once it sounded like, oh yeah, that was really funny.
Yeah. Typically by 6 months of age, the majority of babies can tell the difference between their mother and a stranger. So have you seen this happening in James?
In terms of just visually? Or
Kind of like in terms of stranger anxiety. So if you were to give me James, would he starting to cry or being very uncomfortable?
He doesn't have any kind of separation. I mean, he knows me. Unless he was hungry. Well, he'd probably just start rooting around to see if he could feed him.
Yeah. 3 types of infant temperaments: easy, slow to warm up, and difficult, with easy being the most prevalent, representing 40% of all babies. And so what would you classify James' temperament as?
Easy.
Easy?
He's super easy. Yeah, we're really lucky. Super lucky. Other people that a friend of mine had her baby probably 2 weeks before he did, or before he was born, and they're just having just awful time, just completely awful. And yeah, knock on wood. It's been pretty good so far. We're really lucky. Can we sort of actually reaching for stuff?
In conclusion, we provided 3 case examples that related to the developmental stage of infancy. Through Becca's example, she studied the social interaction of a mother and a 6-month-old infant. This case example that Becca provided was an excellent example of the sensory and perceptual development that we have learned so far through our course material. As stated in our textbook, by 3 months of age, infants can recognize familiar voice-face associations. They show surprise when a familiar face is paired with an unfamiliar face. The infant in Becca's case example was caught off guard by the unfamiliar yell of his mother. The unfamiliar voice-face association causes the infant to interpret the situation as unfamiliar and dangerous. Justin explored the developmental task of emotional development, specifically temperament. In Justin's case study of Anna, she had to adapt to different babysitters along with traveling frequently with her father. The importance of how parents or caregivers react to a child's temperament is vital to their growth. According to our textbook, there have been many studies relating to parenting strategies and their outcome on child's temperament. It is explained in our textbook that shy children can become sociable, fearful children can become secure explorers of their surroundings, and highly exuberant children can develop considerable self-control, all based on the caregiving and parenting techniques in which they are subjected. During Audra and Gina's interview with SSU student Mike, they discussed how long it took for their son James to obtain a sense of visual focus. According to the course reading, it takes 4 months for the infant to develop visual acuity and facial recognition. Babies are not born with skilled motor development, and most motor responses are reflexes. When it comes to verbal communication, babbling is the first verbal form of a communication for infants that reflects the sounds that they consistently hear. In the course reading, it states that from 6 to 8 months is when babbling begins to transform by the infant beginning to connect consonants and vowels and repeating these combinations. Overall, studying the growth of infants is amazing and occurs rapidly. With a proper understanding of infant development, you can recognize developmental stages right before your eyes.